What's going on, world of YouTube? Just dropping on here to answer a question that was posed to me about prepper pets, specifically Doomsday dogs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak on the pros, the cons, and the things that could possibly happen just to help you make a very informed decision on if this is something that you want to do yourself. When I think of a prepping pet, the first one to come to mind is Samantha from I Am Legend. Bold, courageous, well-trained, and trust me, this is like the epitome of a prepping dog. But let's be honest here. There are certain points and certain mistakes even she made in the movie. So let's go ahead and run over this, talk about it, and let's think about what it takes to actually have a prepping pet. One of the things my grandfather always told me, a hungry dog isn't a hunting dog. And he always said that because a hungry dog is going to hunt for self first before it hunts for you. So one of the things you have to think about is, do you have enough dog food or normal food set aside for your pet to make sure that it stays full, nourished, and it does well throughout any SHTF situation? So think about that first. Now, choosing the proper breed of dog, that is another thing. Not all dogs are created equal. Certain dogs do certain things better than others. Some dogs are better at herding, some better for protection. So you have to look at what the dog has been genetically bred for over time and trained to do. That will lead you to what breed of dog you need for this specific purpose. Now remember, not all dogs are all-terrain dogs. Now, do you have the ability to train the dog? This is something else that needs to be taken into account. Because training the dog, dogs aren't just going to know what to do and how to do it just naturally. There has to be a degree of training. You have to be used to your animal. And then you have to look at also how the dog reacts in certain situations. So from that standpoint, are you properly prepared to train your dog for the things that it's going to need to do out in the wild or in a SHTF situation? Now, please remember, there will be a possibility of your dog getting injured in a SHTF situation. So do you yourself have the medical knowledge, or do you know someone who has the medical knowledge to heal and take care of your dog in case of possible injury and a stuff hits the fan situation? Once again, I'm just weighing the pros and the cons so you're well informed on the possibility and probability of what could happen in a shit hit the fan situation. Are you fully prepared to deal with the stresses that canines can have? We don't know the situations that are going to happen in SHTF. There are some dogs who have fear of firecrackers. So say if there's gunshots going off, will your dog deal with those kind of stresses properly? Yelling, arguing. What types of triggers could trigger your dog into a stressful fight or flight situation? Even when we look at I Am Legend, it didn't take much, but even Samantha froze when she was put in a bad situation. Now, we do look and we rely on these pets not only as hunters, but protectors. But do we think about the stresses that they may go through during the process? Dogs bark, they howl, they make noise. It's just part of nature. So you have to think about whether the barking and the howling is going to help or hinder you in certain situations. Yes, it can deter intruders and deter animals. In the same breath, it can attract intruders and animals the same way. So that's just something that I believe needs to be thought about for the survival of not only you, but your companion in a situation, especially in the wild during SHTF. Say your dog decides to chase after something random, for instance, a squirrel or a rabbit, a bird, anything. Do you have the ability to call your dog back, or will you have to go get your dog? Again, another thing. Being able to leash a dog 24 hours a day isn't possibly going to work. Also, will the dog lead you into an even worse situation while trying to protect you, like attracting a bear, wolves, other animals that could be not only predatory to your animal, but to yourself? So, will your dog actually hurt your livelihood by doing what it does in nature? Proper apparel. Do you have things like cut vests, cut collars, things that help your dog avoid getting hurt while they're out hunting, or while they may run into something a little more aggressive like a boar, a mountain lion, things like that, that it can increase them surviving an attack or something happening out in the wild? Now, it depends on the location. If you're doing inner city, and you got your dog versus out in the country. So these are other variables that you need to take into account when you're deciding on not only the dog to pick, but also what gear you can use for your dog in an SHTF situation. They may be cute and cuddly, but in an SHTF situation, you could have Doomsday pups if the dog you chose happens to be a female and she's unaltered. This is something to take into consideration. Not only does it occur and she may run off and just come back with pups, but also thinking about the fact you have to feed her and those puppies. So just another thought to take into account in an SHTF situation if you're prepared to properly take, care for, and raise Doomsday pups. Well, that's my take on Doomsday dogs. Now, those are just a couple things to take into account. There's a few other things that I neglected to mention in the video, but just realize that these are pets and you will get an emotional attachment to them. Not only will you, but your family may. So it's something to think about, the companionship, the camaraderie, the things that come with owning a pet. There are good and bad, and there are both things that will create safeties and dangers in those situations. So I just wanted you to think about that and answer the question. So any other questions you got, put them down in the comment section and I'll try my best to answer them. This is A New Breed, signing out.